shake, shake. Yeah, 'cause the players gonna play, 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 play. And the haters gonna hate, 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 hate. I'm just gonna shake, 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 shake. I shake it off, I shake it off. Heartbreakers gonna break, 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 break. And the makers gonna fake, 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 fake. I'm just gonna shake, 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 shake. I shake it off, I shake it off. 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 Shake it off, I shake it off. I shake it off, I shake it off. You got to shake it off, I shake it off. I shake it off, I shake it off.本日は東京ゲームショウ2015へお越しいただきまして誠にありがとうございます。ご来場の皆様にご案内いたします。セッション中の録画、録音、写真撮影はご遠慮いただいておりますので、あらかじめご了承ください。また、携帯電話、PHS などは電源をお切りいただきますが、マナーモードにご設定の上、会場内でのご通話はご遠慮ください。アジアゲームビジネスサミット2015は4カ国語同時通訳となっております。チャンネル1が日本語、チャンネル2が英語、チャンネル3が中国語、チャンネル4が韓国語となっております。レシーバー側面にチャンネル切り替えのスイッチがございますので、チャンネルを合わせてお使いください。同時通訳レシーバーをお持ちでない方がいらっしゃいましたら、恐れ入りますが、会場入り口までお越しください。お渡ししております同時通訳レシーバーは、終了後すべて回収いたします。会場のお出口、もしくはお近くのスタッフまで必ずご返却くださいますようお願い申し上げます。まもなく開演いたします。お席におかけいただきまして、開演まで今しばらくお待ちください。
Hallelujah, girl, set you hallelujah, girl, set you hallelujah, 'cause Uptown Funk don't give it to you, 'cause Uptown Funk don't give it to you, 'cause Uptown Funk don't give it to you. Saturday night and we in the spot. Don't believe me, just watch. Come on. Don't believe me, just watch. 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 Hey, 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 oh! Before we leave, let me tell y'all a little something. Uptown, funk you up. Uptown, funk you up. Uptown, funk you up. Uptown, funk you up. I said uptown, funk you up. Uptown, funk you up. Uptown, funk you up. Uptown, funk you up. Come on, dance, jump on it. If you sexed and flown it, if you freak dead and own it, don't brag about it, come show me. Come on, dance, jump on it. If you sexed and flown it, well it's Saturday night and we in the spot. Don't believe me, just watch. Come on. Don't believe me, just watch. Don't believe me, just watch. Don't believe me, just watch. Don't
When you have time to yourself, think of all the love that you get from me, that you can't find nowhere else. When you fall away and I'm not around, and temptation fills your heart, think of all the ways that I'm faithful, babe. But to replace me would be hard, 'cause there's nobody. Ain't nobody gonna treat you better. Ain't nobody gonna touch you better. Ain't nobody gonna love you better. More than I am. More than I am. Nobody. Than I am. Nobody. Than I am. Nobody. Oh, nobody's gonna treat you as good as I am. You can try to act single if you wanna. You can go ahead and mingle if you wanna. You can even behave like you don't care. But you know, like I know, that you ain't that foolish. Who you fooling? You won't ruin what's been here all along. You ain't moving from what you got at home. Ain't nobody gonna treat you better. Ain't nobody gonna touch you. Ain't nobody gonna touch you. Ain't nobody gonna love you better. More than I am. Nobody. Than I am. Nobody's gonna touch you. Nobody. Oh, nobody's gonna treat you as good as I am. I just want you to know, baby, I love you so. There is no need to go looking for nothing more, 'cause I've got everything you ever need right here. But if you feel that you need to leave, just know ain't nobody gonna treat you better. Ain't nobody gonna touch you better. Ain't nobody gonna love you better. More than I am. Ain't nobody gonna treat you better. Ain't nobody gonna touch you better. Ain't nobody gonna love you better. More than I am. Nobody. Than I am. Oh, nobody's gonna treat you as good as I am. Nobody's gonna treat you as good as I am. Nobody's gonna treat you more than I am. Nobody's gonna treat you as good as I am.
I've got fire for a heart. I'm not scared of the dark. You've never seen it look so easy. I got a river for a soul, and baby you're a boat. Baby you're my only reason. If I didn't have you, there would be nothing left. The shell of a man that could never be his best. If I didn't have you, would never see the sun. You taught me how to be someone. Yeah.
All my life you stood by me when no one else was ever behind me. All these lights, they can't blind me. With your love, nobody can drag me down. My life
皆様大変長らくお待たせいたしました。
Thank you very much for your patience. Now we'd like to start Asia Game Business Summit 2015. Now we'd like to introduce the panelists on stage. First, from China, Shanda Games, the president, Zhang Haijin. Next, from China, Perfect World, COO, Cloud Zhang. Next from China, Perfect World, Global BD Director, Sherry Sun. Next, from Japanese company, DNA China, CEO, Ren Yi. From Japan, Square Enix Holdings, Director, Keiji Honda. And as special guest from Ritsumeikan University, Professor Mr. Akinori Nakamura. Lastly, as a moderator, fellow research of Nikkei BP Institute of Consumer Trend, Nikkei Business Publications, Mr. Hideo Shinada. So thank you very much, and once again, welcome to this stage, and please take your seats. So from now onward, Mr. Shinada, would you please take the lead? Thank you very much. My name is Shinada from Nikkei BP, and good afternoon, everyone. At this Tokyo Game Show 2015, welcome to this TGS. According to the announcement this morning, we have people from 37 countries, 480 companies. This is a record high number. I think the number has been growing. And also, out of those 480 companies, 246 companies are from overseas. So yes, at Makuhari, we have this event, but this event really attracts a lot of attention from the other countries. This Asia Game Business Summit is themed on China. So taking another crack at the Chinese market. So the biggest market, but it's really hard to enter into the Chinese market. So based upon that history, I think we have quite a diversified panelist. So what's the Chinese market now, and how the Japanese companies are endeavoring into this Chinese market? Yes, there are some people who have been engaged in this gaming industry for many years, but like Amazon or YouTube, a landscape for gaming has been changing. So some of those new entrants into the gaming industry as well as Chinese market, I hope that this 90 minutes panel discussion is going to be a bit of your help. So we have guests on stage. Maybe you may know them or you may not know them. So maybe we'd like to take some turns to talk about their company. So maybe from China, from Shanda Games, Mr. Chen, would you please self-introduce yourself? Good afternoon. I'm from Shanda Games. My name is Chen Hai Chen. Well, I think since 2000, it's been 15 years for this company. We have been doing the business mainly on online games. So about 2-3 years ago, Square Enix, many other, and also we have expanded to the mobile games. Currently, we are listed on NASDAQ, and in China, mobile and online are two major business pillars in China. Well, yes, you can also talk about your company. Yes, I'm sorry. Well, please move to the next page. Well, our company, in terms of the revenue, we have a majority of revenue coming from the online, which is accounting for about 20%. The characteristics of our company is so China and also South Korea. We have some branch offices, especially in China. We have popular IP, the Dragon Nest, and also Bill's Legend. And Dragon, I think we currently have the copyright so that we can deliver that games to the Japanese market. I think IP is the most important element for our company, and we basically hold the IP, trying to roll up the business. So the Bill's Legend, this is one, and also maybe in terms of MMORPG, we still have been number one IP for the last 15 years, and also Dragon Nest, another IP. This is a sort of action RPG. And once again, this is a number one action RPG. And this is all available as MMO. Also, there are only two on this slide, but these two are already going into the film. So from the literature or novel to IP to the games, so multi-devices and multi-screens are usually our target in our business rollout. So as I said, this is a number one. This is a Legend of Immortal. And yes, mobile games was launched in China. And currently, we are taking number 1, 2, and 3. We cannot disclose the revenue, but it's a huge revenue coming from this title. The market is big. So I think now the popularity amongst PC users are now moving to the mobile users. And this is one of the major trends in China. So MMO to mobile. So this is also going to be the consistent trend in Chinese market. So you have to pay a little bit more attention to this trend. Next is Dragon Nest. This is a number 2 IP. And currently, this IP already has been transferred to the animation. You see it quite often in Japan, but this is the first game title to the animation or manga cartoon. Well, we have been developing a lot of mobile games, and yes, we are going to launch a lot more. And also, in terms of the animation, well, one has been already launched, and we are waiting for the other two to come out. Well, we use IP in the business and also from the games to the multi-platforms, multi-screens. That's how we do the business. Thank you very much.
こうですね。
So you're enjoying tremendous success. Did you anticipate this 20 years ago? No, I did not at all. Why is it that you're so fluent in Japanese? Previously, I spent about 6 years here in Japan because of business. Well, we're very happy to see you present here now. Thank you very much. Best of regards, and we'd like to move on to Mr. Chang of Perfect World, please. How do you do, everybody? I'm very happy to be here in Tokyo. I would like to briefly explain about the situation of our company. Perfect World is mainly focused on MMO as a game company, and several years ago, we started to make mobile games as well. And we have network games as well. We do a lot of different types of games, and if we look back at our history, you can see the details here. We started in 1997, and it was in 2004 that we became formally a company. After that, we carried out global activities, and in 2007 we created a subsidiary in the United States, and we also did acquisitions in 2012 in the United States. The most successful was our Perfect World operation, and the another one called Shusen, and we also have Everwinter, and there are products that have been developed through our American subsidiary. The situation we're in is that we now are involved globally in America, Japan, Korea, and Southeast Asia. And there's also a company established for operations and for development in Europe. And for the overseas developments, this represents about 10% of our business. So we're not just developing games for China, we're carrying out activities throughout the world. Up until now, there's a variety of different products that we have released. Some use our IP, and Shusen is an example of that. And there's also collaborations with Japanese companies where we got liars like Saint Seiya. And the lady beside me had been involved in these kind of developments. There are also IP created in Europe that we brought into China. Up until now, I'd like to introduce some of the collaborations with Japan. This is Saint Seiya, which comes from Shueisha, the publishing company, and this was quite influential in China as well as a manga. And there was a joint collaboration between a Chinese company and a Japanese company to develop this game. And last year, this was deployed for mobile phones as well. And in Taiwan and Hong Kong, services have been started, and already over 10 million users are enjoying this. Next, we have a collaboration with Square Enix, Crossgate. This is for mobile. In China, this was already available, but this was not a mobile game originally. So modifications were made, and it became a #1 mobile game. And the total sales is over 2 billion yen, so it's proven to be quite popular. Next, another product is for the European market and Japan. This is called Shinma Tairiku in Japanese, and this is released in different countries. We have support from a Japanese company, so Japanese services have begun, and we believe that this will become a global product for us. Next, for the Chinese market, I would like to introduce to you the details of mobile games. Mobile developments have been moving forward very rapidly. There has been very rapid growth, and this year as well as next year, we believe that this will be at a scale of about $6 billion. And so it should become the #1 market in the world, surpassing the United States. This shows how big the market is in China. Now, if we look at the different categories of games in China, we see a great variety. Mainly popular are the RPG games, action games, and also the card games that are popular in Japan are also popular in China. The types of games that users like cover a wide range of different subjects. And so, there's a wide range of products available in China, and the size of the business is quite large. And if we look at the situation of mobile games from 2013 to 2015, there was a tremendous amount of growth in what is called hardcore games. If we look at the percentages between hardcore, mid-core, and casual, you can see that the growth is in the hardcore games. As for the new titles, hardcore series are dominant. So there is a shift from the casual game to the mid-core, and then a further shift from the mid-core games to hardcore games, where there are more complex game activities required. And this is going to be a trend that will continue in the Chinese market from now on. It was mainly males who enjoyed the games in China, but recently females have increased in number. And the percentage represented by women are getting higher. In the Chinese market, if we look at the speed of the development as well as the variety of games, the perfect world must move forward with different plans, and we must find good games from throughout the world to release in China. In the Chinese market, we cannot just develop games, we must also find partners to work with to further develop the market here in China. Thank you very much. Listening to the situation of the two Chinese companies, we see that there's a tremendous speed in the expansion of the business while moving forward on a global basis. And there's more of a shift to mobile or hardcore games, and we're also seeing an increase in female gamers. So there are major changes taking place. Now there's a very beautiful lady sitting next to Mr. Zhang and Ms. Sung. Can you introduce yourself? I'm very pleased to be able to participate here. Perfect World is participating in the Tokyo Game Show for the first time. And in the Japanese market, we want to become more well-known. So therefore, there are 4 titles that we have brought with us to Japan this time. We are taking a global perspective, and we'll continue to develop games. And we hope that you'll come by our booth. Thank you very much. Ms. Sun is very familiar with anime, manga, and games. Next, we have a Japanese corporation, and we have DNA China, Mr. Ren Yi. Could you tell us about your work? How do you do? My name is Ren Yi of DNA. And I'm sure that you're familiar with DNA. So I'll skip the details about our operations here in Japan. As you know, we're carrying out a wide variety of different business activities. And we're also active in China. Going on to the next slide. We're also active in the Western countries, so we have global activities. As for China, as explained by the 2 previous speakers, the overall Chinese market is growing very rapidly. We don't want to be left behind, and so therefore, we have invested a lot of resources in making efforts. And if we look at the situation of China, we have the base of our operations in Shanghai. And already we have over 500 persons working for us in China. And we have operations in Japan, China, and the Western countries. And we have collaboration as well. In the United States, we have a partnership with the NBA, and we have a title called My Dream and Transformers. A variety of different titles are being deployed. In China, We are a foreign company, and so therefore we want to take advantage of our strengths, such as animation or films or sports. And we have a lineup of IP that is quite strong for the market. And in regard to game production in China, specifically what we're doing is the following. When it comes to Japanese publishers or Chinese production companies or first-party studios, we have a variety of different types of relationships with different companies. And I'm sure this will come up later, but in China, Google Play only has a market share of 2 to 3%. And there's a lot of different app stores. And there's maybe 11 major companies and over 100 companies if you include all the players. So there's a wide variety of different relationships that we have in the market. And right now, starting from April for China, segment information is being provided. And finally, the scale of our business has become sufficient enough to make disclosures about. So we hope that you'll continue to support our efforts. I'm wondering about the Baysars in Yokohama, but I'm also looking forward to what's taking place in Shanghai in your company as well.
Mr. Honda from Square Enix representing Japanese companies. Mr. Honda, I'm in the 50s just like you, and we have a long-time experience of the games from the family computer time. If you can talk about your experience. I guess introducing Square Enix Group is not that meaningful, so maybe I should touch a little bit upon how involved we are in the China market. In 2001, the Miss Cho-san from the Perfect World came talk to us, and Crossgate, the title called Crossgate, was brought to China. In the beginning, China was a vast market, and that was how China was regarded. And also, China was also regarded as the evolving market that is going to explode in the future. And these were our motives to go into China. Back then, the game market has just begun. Online game was starting to grow. As Mr. Sen said, Mill's Legend was very popular because it was the time of the rise of the games. Our title became a big hit. As I was watching how it goes, I noticed something interesting. The Chinese people are so energetic, and they grow very quickly in business. So I thought that I should just go there and do the business myself. So from 2004 to 2006, I was in China, spent there for about 2.5 years. I did start operation in China directly, ended up with a lot of failures, to be very honest. Well, China is a difficult market, and we should encourage many people. Oh, that was the initial remark you made. But I could say I've made all these mistakes. And how our Chinese business has evolved should be explained in this opportunity. Let's show our PowerPoint slide. This is the current China deployment that we are thinking as a Square Enix group. In China market, mobile content is doing very well. We are the contents manufacturer, contents provider, and we would like to introduce any kinds of variety of kinds of contents, not just mobile, but the PC, MMO, online should be covered, and also Sony and NS entered into the market as a console manufacturer, so we provide the console solution too. That means that there's a wide breadth of the devices to play with, and we'd like to adapt to all these different technologies. Earlier I mentioned that the China market was very difficult when we started the business in China initially. And I would say that those people who live in China and the Chinese people should be the people we should ask questions to. And therefore, we decided to work closely with the local Chinese partner and create partnership. We do have the local corporation, local entity, and do our own business there. But depending on the characteristics of our contents, just like a Perfect World and Shanda Games, we work closely together, taking advantage of their strength. The initial FF business is work together with Shanda and with Perfect World. Cross Gate, which was the first title in China, has been deployed. So how we try to choose the best partner to optimize what we have as our contents. That's the overview of our Chinese business. Thank you very much. In the long history, a lot of things must have happened. Maybe I should ask you later about the details. We have Professor Nakamura from Ritsumeikan University. And he, of course, is originally an expert of the business management. But he fell in love with a game and came back to Japan, right? Yes. If you can explain a little bit about the Chinese game market trend. Yes, please take a look at this slide. And GBD, IDC, CHG, those the government authority has introduced these statistics at the end of the year. In 2014, not just mobile, but the overall market was 114.4 billion yen. And in yen, that was 2 trillion and 160 billion yen. Now, there's no mistake that China is the biggest market in Asia. By the way, overall, the movie is revenue in yen is 563.1 billion yen. That means that the online game is the mainstream of the entertainment markets there. Of course, Chinese cinema entertainment is big, but as a market potential, the online game and the game industry is overwhelming other types of entertainment. The next page, this is also another statistic made available by CINIC, the telecommunication kind of authorities. This is the June 2015 figure. And online game users 0.38 billion and out of 0.66 internet users. So 0.59 billion and people was the internet user, and according to the calculation, the current online game users is 267 million. Newzoo, Nevi, there are local authorities that produces these statistics. On the next page, especially surprising is that in 2008 June, over 200 million people use the internet, which made the world's biggest internet population in China. And then in June, the Chinese internet population has exceeded American internet users. In December 2011, online game users in China has exceeded the total population of the United States. So I'd like to ask you how do you feel about these numbers, but that's according to the statistics. The next page, the mobile game market is something that attracting a lot of attention. GDCI and GCDC are producing these numbers. In 2012, about 61.5 billion yen. It was the mobile game market in 2012, and in 2014, over 500 billion yen business size was accomplished. So MMO market has grown gradually in the last 10 years, but the mobile market has made a rapid growth in the last several years. And the background is shown on the next slide. This is different from the previous statistics. The four major telcos have shared this number of the cellular phone subscribers. Well, I'm sorry, the three major plus the sum of three. And the total of 1.29 billion units, or the number of subscribers. This is according to the financial results. And 3G, 4G telecom service subscriber has changed like this. And in China, 3G is still very prevalent, but the 4.5G is about to start. And overall, about very close to 0.7 billion, the subscribers are already there in China. That means that there is a close relationship between the telecom users, for the mobile users, and mobile game users. As you can see, this market is very crowded by the different players, and these tables color coded. The MMORPG market top share companies are there in color, and also the big players in Taiwan included there too. As you can see, there are so few of them, 3 or 4. But as the mobile market grows, some new companies have become successful, and these are colored in pink. I'm sorry, the first one was colored in blue, and the second one's in pink. Every year at the end of the year, there is a Chinese market industry meeting. And in this meeting, the game suppliers and the game business companies participate. And from 2010, the mobile game numbers are being counted. And as you can see, the Shanda Games, Perfect Worlds, these companies are included in here. But a lot of mid-sized companies are taken by a lot of new emerging companies. So the number really talks. It's amazing.
Well, the number is really big, so that's why it's kind of hard to understand how big this is because it's too huge. Yes. Chinese people come to Japan for shopping, and that actually boosted the sales of their retailers by 10 to 20%. So how do we see those numbers? That's something which we have to ask ourselves. So let's get into the main theme, which is the taking another crack at the Chinese market. I actually teach at a digital Hollywood, and maybe 1/3 is a students. And then Tsinghua University, I talk to people or students at Tsinghua University, and they all say that they like Japanese games, but they like the Japanese characters. But as I mentioned before by Honda-san, Japanese game is not really booming in China market. Why? So the first theme is a difference between Chinese and Japanese market, maybe the customs or the legal system or users' reaction. We want to hear from you regarding the difference between Japan and China. So from Shanda again, Mr. Sen. I think last year we also asked you some questions, but what's the major difference? Well, in terms of the way how we do the marketing, we can actually say this as 3 C's: competition, and customs. So 3 C's. First C is a landscape or environment. In China, Google Play is really
alive. We do not have a lot of traffic in Google Play. In Chinese proprietary players, we have over 100 Chinese players. In order to accommodate those players, the developers have to accommodate, meaning that we have basically 100 different versions. Well, the Japanese companies only offer only two versions. One is Apple, the other one is Google. But in China, you have to develop 100 different versions. You have to manage, you have to control, and the cost is totally different. The Japanese companies to come to Chinese market, well, maybe DNA is the best company which does quite good business in China. Well, so China, it's really costly to have the business in China. It's totally different from Japanese market. In terms of the competition, so Chinese students like Japanese content, Japanese manga. And after the internet boom, well, there are a lot of Japanese contents entering into the Chinese market for free, and they are able to watch the Japanese contents on the internet. And Japanese manga, Japanese contents were actually brought into the Chinese market as weapons. But now we have mobile, so well, the different companies is acquired, or Chinese companies are directly working with the Japanese companies. Well, Chinese company is taking some of the IP from the Japanese company and localize it to the Chinese market. Well, it used to be only a Japanese sword, but now the sword is shared, or sword is the Chinese sword. From the customer's perspective, well, Japan, like a pachinko parlor, is one of the Japanese cultures, and business model is fully matched in the gaming industry. But in China, there is online games, and then make a shift to mobile games. So I think we had totally different. One is kind of a gamble. So online game business model is taking steps to have kind of a long tail business. It's totally different, but you have to used to it. Well, markets between Japan and China are totally different in terms of the cost, users, and competition. Thank you. Cost, competitor, and customer, those three C's. Well, it's a tough market. So, Son-san, well, Sherry-san, I think you are quite versed in the Japanese games, but how do you see the difference? Well, for me, the whole business has been done between Chinese and us, and we try to the Chinese market. From Japanese companies' perspective, if you are going into the Chinese market, what kind of challenges are you facing? Let me actually give you some of the ideas. One is, in order for you to start a business in China, the difference between Japanese and Chinese companies is the speed. Chinese companies regard speed is really important. Chinese market is drastically changing in 1 year. Trend is totally different, and also specification of the mobile phones are different. So maybe that is impacting the demand by the players for graphics and others. So when you start business talks with the Japanese company, and then you set up the agreement, and then you have the agreement, and then usually it took about half a year. But still, from the Japanese perspective, it could be quite fast. Then we have to do the localization. Well, basically, 1 year is usually behind when we do business with a Japanese company. From the Japanese perspective, well, that actually deteriorates the value of the Japanese contents. Chinese companies sometimes can be a threat to the Japanese, but sometimes this is leading to the win-win situation by taking a fast move. And I'm sure that that is also going to accelerate your business as well. That's the first topic. And then, in case of a mobile game, if you want to launch the mobile game in China, you have to make some adjustment for the billing or invoice. And you have a BIP system, which is hated by the Japanese company, but this is something which we have to have in China. Even though you pay a lot. If you have too much services, it may not be liked by the users. Well, you have to say VIP, VIP. We should not have VIP in Japan, but the VIP is quite a high value in China. So you have to make that adjustment for the billing. In Japan, well, you may be regarded that you are just chasing after the profit too much. So should we go totally reverse? Well, maybe some people say that yes, we are just chasing after the money, but maybe you have to really target the characteristics or personalities of the Chinese. Well, we pay, so that's why we want to have a different experience. We want to be stronger by making some payment. Well, PDP, especially strength of the character, is controlled. So PDP, at the end of the day, you can actually achieve PDP. But if you compare characters between, this is something which is quite obvious in China. So I think I can go along. Well, so those are the two major differences between two markets. Thank you. Thank you very much. I think you are smashing the Japanese companies. But can I ask you, DNA? Well, so now are you stationed in Japan or in China? Which one? Well, as I mentioned before, Chinese market, there is a huge difference. In terms of the DNA strategy, we actually develop our contents in China for Chinese market. That's our strategy. In the past, we actually started the business in China since 2006. Smartphone games we started in 2011. So maybe it's about 5 years since we launched the smartphone games. Initially, we were trying to bring the Japanese contents into the Chinese market. Back then, there was not like a shift to application. It was still browser-based games. So the contents inside was browser, and we were trying to port into the Chinese market. Back then, 3G was not that adopted, and so that's why we had some issue with the traffic. And why do we have such a difference? As was mentioned before, so everybody is in the middle class, so that's why basically you are using you see the billing, so 20 to 30% of the monthly billing, and you actually put the fairness as quite a significant factor, but maybe China, maybe 3 to 4 or 5% at most in Chinese market. So the income of the games is coming from a lot of small number of the users. So the high billing users is some of the things which we are dependent on. And for that particular users, we have to develop the games, and we have to satisfy the request by those high value customers or users. So because of that, the speed is always the key.
And so we have a full-fledged development structure in China. If that's the case, then between the headquarters in Japan and your company, there may be some difference in understanding. Now, we've been in operation for 5 years. At first, there was a lot of questions about what kind of KPIs to apply, but there's a greater recognition that the market is quite different in China, and a lot of decision-making in China can be carried out to solve problems. Thank you. Listening to this, and what are your impressions, Professor Nakamura? Oh, you might be thinking that the Chinese market is tough. If you try to apply conventional Japanese methods, it would be tough. Listening to everybody here, I keenly feel this. Looking at the individual aspects, I think what everybody has said is quite accurate. And I'm thinking why this is the case, but this is deeply rooted. We have difference in the country and the culture and so on. But still, the reason why we have this kind of a difference, according to my understanding, is that the Japanese game market started with a Famicom. A Famicom is where you sell rubber cartridges. it was a maker's market. The maker offers what they created. But in China, the game started from the online games. Online games are operated over a long period of time. So a lot of different user opinions come into the picture. Good online games would absorb all of these requests and respond. That's how you win in China. So it's a buyer's market. There's a difference between a seller's market and a buyer's market. Fundamentally, that must be the difference. So speed is required, scale is required, and it's necessary to accommodate all devices. So flexibility is necessary, as everybody has said. All of these requirements exist in the Chinese market. And another thing, there was mention about the statistics from Professor Nakamura, but the market changes immediately. Once you make a shift from PC online games, it suddenly everything is mobile. So you have this extreme behavior, and all the publishers follow the trends. That's fundamentally where the difference is. That's not the case in Japan, though. Card games still exist, and there's still PC online games and console games and smartphone games. A wide variety of different users have their own personal tastes in how they want to enjoy. But in China, I don't think that things are going to continue as they are. Devices will increase, game genres will appear, and a lot of different things will appear. If everybody tries to respond in the same way, then everybody's going to be making the same game, and there will be no competition. So it'll mean that the buyer's attitudes as well as the seller's attitudes will change. And this is going to come about in China. So when Chinese companies change, this will prove to be a milestone. I sense that those comments came from experience. Professor Nakamura, we're talking about the same Asia and the same Far East, and there are many similarities, and yet there's also differences where we don't really know where to start from. Could you summarize this? Speed is definitely an essential factor. You have to make decisions quickly and come up with products quickly. That's the trend of the Chinese publishers. But there are cases where they make mistakes, and that's a matter of concern to the Japanese companies, but it's necessary to be flexible as well as fast. So you need to have a very fast capability to respond to changes. Instead of thinking for a long period of time, you need a lot of implementation skills. That's what Japanese companies need. So you need that kind of decision-making process. That's the style for moving forward into China. From the user's perspective, there's very much popularity for Japanese-like contents. There were a lot of pirate versions of Japanese contents, and that had been distributed over the market, such as DVD. And DNA has been successful there, and there's a lot of global IP that Japan has, so we should take advantage of this. You should confirm your IP lineup. That's going to be important, and you should take advantage of that. Well, you mentioned about speed. If we compare, Japanese companies are slower. They try to get the data in place and submit that to their superiors and do conferences, and that's time consuming. So do you think that that is not the right way to go about things? Who should I ask that? Oh, please. It's not a matter of what's good and what's bad. If I say that, that's not going to be a reference for anybody. So specifically, what do we need to do? For the first point, when making something, it's not just the Japanese games industry. There's common to a lot of different industries, but there's a tendency to focus first on the Japanese market. It may not be the #1 market in the world, but the Japanese market is quite large. So there's a tendency to focus first on the Japanese market, and if you're successful there, then you make the next step. So you start to study what to do next after being successful in the Japanese market. We faced an issue in 2013, and if there's an interesting game in Japan, such as Basra or Mixi's games, and what happens is that it takes about 2-3 months before it becomes really popular in Japan, and then the industry people feel that that's going to be very popular. But then you need a lot of resources. So you focus your resources first to the Japanese market. And then after that, there may be demand from the overseas market. So you start studying about what to do about the overseas market in Japan. But then it takes about 3 months before you decide to go ahead, and then another 3 months before you get the contract in place. But in the world of mobile games, game developer can build up a game in 1 year, starting from scratch. If you try to make the same game, and once you release it, you may decide to port and localize to China, and it takes easily 1.5 years before the Chinese version is released after the Japanese version has been launched. But by then, there'll be localized pirate versions already available by then, so that Japanese corporations can find a market for their products. So you have to correct that. In order to win in business, you have to change that kind of situation. Well, I'd like to ask, speed is very important. Japanese corporations have different budgeting and HR policies, so the decision-making process may be slow. But that would mean that the development process is also too slow in Japan. Can I ask that to Mr. Lien? Yes? Yes, there's too much confirmation required, and Japanese companies are slow to make decisions. Does that mean that people work harder or make quicker decisions? Well, if you look at the speed between China and Japan, I think both countries have companies that move fast. But in the case of Japan, there's the section manager, the general manager, and so on that you have to go through, and you have to go through a series of confirmations. But in China, it's not like a military organization, so there's more speed. Well, the traditional Japanese companies were like that, but for young companies like DNA or so on, well, I think it's all the same. The Japanese companies all have the same type of culture. Well, what about the essence of the speed? What has to be changed? It's not just the decision-making, is it? Well, the thing is, if it's a hit in Japan, then the idea is to just try to transplant that into China. But you have to rethink about that approach, basically. That's the feeling I get. With a sense of speed required now, the organizational structure or delegation of authority is quite different between Japan and China. But in China, the speed is tremendously fast, and it's a matter of competition. If you come up with something interesting, the person who is able to make something immediately, something that's fun, will not think about the localization or the time necessary to finish a contract. So you have to rethink about how to make things for China.
Okay, let's ask Cho-san. I mean, you have grown so fast after 10 years. I mean, what is the secret of your speedy success? How could we make it fast? Well, about the difference of speed between Japanese and Chinese companies, yes, indeed, there's a difference. But in terms of development, I think these kind of hierarchical structure has to be allowed, but have to say it's inefficient. So we introduced the flat development process. No matter what the project is, the PM or development creators, they do have control. They have the delegated capability to control the process. I mean, the company should allow the free development environment without getting a lot of checks and confirmations. And we do have the platform too. The one example is a crossgate that I mentioned. We didn't have much time to introduce it to Chinese market. We worked with Square Enix and have to finish all the localization processes within a few months. And we didn't have enough time to assign enough number of people too. So at our art center, we provided the full support. And this kind of full support structure and our flat development structure and our platform helped increase the speed. When Japanese companies enter into China markets, they need to accelerate their development speed. And the speed of decision making. If it takes several months before making a decision, how about working together with a local market or trying to cultivate this new market? I think highly likely you will lose the opportunity if it takes too long time. So I think Japanese organization have to be changed. For example, there could be a team dedicated to Chinese market, in the example of the U.S. companies would be interesting because a lot of authority is delegated to the Chinese local entity. I think this kind of delegation of decision making right would be the key. Yes, indeed. I'd like to know how we can accelerate our process. Maybe acquisition, M&A is one thing, or the headhunting from the major company would be another key. Let's ask. Well, let's talk now about the user's preference. This market is so big with 0.2, 0.3 billions of people. Son-san, in Japan, suppose we have a title. Well, the difference of the characters and difference of the games and titles would be different. I mean, it's not just the girl character looking the same, but all different names. Well, do you see Son-san, who knows very much about the both market? What do you feel about the difference of the preference? The IP, manga IP, Ranobe IP are very powerful. I guess in Japan, I think all of you know that. But there's always, sometimes there's no legal support. According to the copyright law in China, there's a proportion of the likabilities. I mean the similarity of the character up to 30%, for example. This character may have a different clothes and different color of the hair. All these things would work, and the newcomer can easily, therefore, copy. When we look at the Apple Store, the ones that mimic the game companies that mimic the original receive a comment like, well, you are very conscious because you have made these changes. I mean, so there's no much complaint. or about the copyright claim. That means that the original copyright holders would receive a lot of the financial loss, the great loss. Even if you respect Japanese characters and Japanese games, Chinese people feel that the more fun the better. Yes, and they want to play the game immediately. If they love this IP or if they like to play this game, they would find a situation where they cannot play it immediately. If it is found in some other company's game, they would just jump for it. So it's like borrowing an IP. The Chinese users are happy enough that they have something they can play with. That's the way they think. I say it's so difficult, Mr. Nakamura. Yes, something similar to this title. That title is inevitable. So the management decision has to be accelerated. But I don't have a view that development development is taking too slow in Japan because we have a good craftsmanship. I think Japanese companies are very professional and has a high level of sophisticated titles. So their titles can be called art, so sophisticated. Well, that relates to the next theme, which is how we overcome the barriers. Well, there are a lot of young people and the indies people, and some of you have a venture spirit. Rather than this craftsmanship or perfection, the speed or market, the sense has to be first to come in developing and selling a game. Game rule, game mechanics are not strictly protected by IP. Therefore, the very innovative smartphone game can be copied as is in Taiwan and China, became a top one title. That has actually been happening. So there is some infringement observed. Well, of course, it depends on the concept of the contents, but if this innovativeness or novelty of the game is the key to the title, you have to move very quickly. Yes, well, Honda-san, who has contributed to the very craftsmanship type of development in Japan. What do you think? For the users, we think that the fun, if the game is fun, that's good enough. And I believe that there's no one solution to make things better. We worked with Shanda and the Perfect World in the past, and there are some strengths or good points about our company, and there are the strength of Shanda Games and the Perfect World, and my impression is that combining the strength of both parties is a key to success. And we are trying to select the optimal partners. FF14 are operated by Shanda very carefully, so it's receiving very good reputation. And Crossgate is very successful because of the contribution of a Perfect World. So rather than just focusing on one know-how, I think just starting off doing things together, bringing in the strengths together, would be the first thing we should do. I mean, in principle, we should do the we should develop the product that we sell in China, and we give a lot of delegate a lot of authority to the Chinese people. I mean, there's no just one secret or just one way of doing things better. That's my very honest opinion. Yes, I agree with you. It is good to introduce the perfect title, and once you introduce to China, the game company tend to be picky and protective, saying, don't do this, don't do that. And that's one reason that the process is getting slow. And yes, I've been in the entertainment industry and trying to learn the Hollywood and the one theme park company they're located near here. I thought these companies are the ideal of the entertainment world. But remember the Transformer movie in China that was #1, and also it was #1 in the U.S. In the production process, they talked to Chinese and decided the location. Yes, YouTube system should be capable for deleting the popular movie of Anna, but there has Anna and the Frozen in well. Can you give me any clue what kind of game would be very well received in China? As Mr. Honda said, China is a market of the buyers. So looking at top 5 or top 3 are MMO, RPG games, and this is different from different from Japan, South Korea, and the U.S. And also doing some production. Well, since it's a buyers-oriented market, so I think it's more important to really differentiate. So you have to be meticulous about how you create things. So let's say there are a lot of companies who have a lot of capital, and maybe they can actually build their subsidiary in China. But if you don't have that capital, then you have to work with a Chinese company, maybe our IP. If the Japanese companies develop using our IP, then what kind of a game this is going to be? So maybe this is kind of things which you have to really look at. So maybe this is going to be the keyword using the Sangoku-ji or Sanko-shin. So what kind of things would you like to develop? Would you like to hire as talents? When you are going to hire, what kind of people would you like? Well, you have to be able to work in China, meaning that you have to be able to speak Chinese as a language, and you have to be beautiful if you are a woman. This is a joke. But I think how enthusiastic the person is, that's the most important thing, or how much passion the person has. That's the first factor which we see when we hire. So I'm sorry, I'm at a loss how I should answer to that question to my students. Well, I started to see some of the differences between Japan and China, including the success or failures. You already have a difference in terms of the experiences. How do we overcome those hurdles and then trying to endeavor into the brighter future? Maybe one word from each person. So, well, there are a lot of insights. Which we have heard. So as Square Enix, you are going to do it, but maybe your personal idea as to how you are going to overcome the hurdles or the challenges in China. Well, I don't think I am working for a Japanese company. I don't think it's really important to see if it's a Japanese company or not. Well, China is one market, and also the U.S. or Western market is another. Whatever contents which we develop will be enjoyed by many people. This is the essence of the entertainment company or entertainment development company. So in order to be able to do this, as I said, maybe we want to work with Chinese company so that we can bring the good part of the parties, and Shanda and Perfect World had those strengths. And yes, if there is any chance, maybe we will be working together to develop the entertainment contents from scratch. It's not just a partnership, but we work from scratch. We bring the benefit of each company and then create something together. This is my personal opinion. Maybe that will lead to the creation of something interesting. Well, yes, we are the co-sponsor with this event. We usually say that Japan and the following company, but Japan of course, you are looking at the Japanese market, but you have to see your contents to be enjoyed by more people on the globe. So Ghibli, Mr. Suzuki, I think Thailand is now having a lot of new creators. So now Ghibli is having a lot of Thai people. How about you? Well, maybe we have midterm and long term, or short term and long term. For short term, was yes, as a strategy, we went into the Chinese market. We made an investment, and we are going to develop our own contents in China. But in long term, as I mentioned about Transformer, well, the contents or entertainment industry has been globalized. So by the penetration of internet, maybe in the 20s or younger, they actually consume the same contents at the same locations. Well, YouTube is banned in China, but to a certain extent, I think they enjoy the contents. So maybe 3 years from now, I think all of the people in China have a global mindset. So maybe they are going to develop on their own from scratch, or maybe there are some people who have the strength on the global scale. They are working together, and that's something which we have to see in the long term. Well, the film is sort of a package business, so that's why we are ahead with the film or movie business. But the game industry, online is getting the mainstream, and you really have to accept the users. So maybe short term we see differences in each country, but long term, like 3 to 5 years from now, I think each country should bring their own benefit, or each company has to bring their own benefit, so that you bring all those benefits together to develop something which can be competitive on the global scale. Maybe I think maybe at the students, we have to really nurture the global mindset, not just business, but artistic part, or maybe the engineering capability. Well, sometimes you see a totally different talents between amongst the different countries. So, regardless of the position, you really have to nurture, especially young people, have to nurture their global mindset. Well, going back a little bit, since from Chinese perspective, what do we have to modify? What extra care do we have to have, Mr. Chen? Well, now we are working with Square Enix right now. Well, in China, as I mentioned by Honda-san, well, yes, the buyers-oriented market. So if we are looking at the buyers, then we are going to modify or align our idea to the buyers-centric products. But Japan, no. Well, from red to yellow, because China is buyer-oriented market. So that's why changing the color of the clothing, or maybe changing the color of the hair, it's really important to adjust our art into the buyer's request or demand. So maybe that's a difference. And you have to understand that. Thank you. Yes. I'm sure that there are some creators who have a certain persistence to a certain factors. How about you, Mr. Cho and Son? So Zhang and well, in order to make a success in China, what the foreign companies need to do, there are some successes in South Korea and Western countries, but what do we have to have? Well, what I think is that if you want to be a successful company in Chinese market, you have to first understand the China market, and then looking at the experiences and also looking at our partners. First, when you come into the Chinese market, you have to select the partners carefully. Chinese market is quite complex market, yes, aggregate market. So we have quite a wide area, and also the different ethnic groups in north, south, and also the west and east. So you have a huge area and also huge population. So that's something which you have to have. So that's why some of the non-Chinese companies we talk, and we usually say that the games, how many departments or how many divisions you have to come to the Chinese market. Well, I think the Chinese companies cannot really answer to that. So that's why it's really important to find a good partners, Chinese partners. If you want to directly do the business in China, I don't think that's a good idea. For the last 2 decades, or maybe over 2 decades, this is what I learned from the past experiences. Next thing is whenever you come to Chinese company, a Chinese market, the influence, and so if you have already the experiences working with the foreign companies, because when foreign companies try to find Chinese partner, what they are looking at is the value, how much value or how much cost does this incur, meaning that if it's a fair and open market, you can actually compare using the different information. But to be honest with you, a lot of companies in China, you can't really cooperate in that regard, and they do not have the capability for development. But still, because of they lack the development, so that's why they offer the lower price and good condition.
定能做到还是有很大的差距。
But in Japan, it's a different thing about being able to promising that and actually doing it. So you have to look at the relatively influential, trustworthy entities. There are quite a few corporations that fulfill those conditions, and they value their honor, so you should search for such companies. From our case, there was a PC game in the United States that collaborated with us, and they had a very good game. And they wanted to go into the Chinese market, but they faced this problem. How do you install the servers? How do you apply for permission from the government? The situation of the networks are completely different in China compared to the United States. And you have to find a good partner, otherwise you're not going to be successful. So you have to make the right contacts and cooperate with the Chinese corporations. And currently, we are achieving greater sales for that American company than any other country. And if it's a product that we experienced on the PC, you can then transport that into the mobile area, and after porting, it can be very successful. And when doing joint development and launching a product, it's necessary to maintain the good qualities of the original product while localizing it appropriately for China. And there are 100 channels. And it's not just iOS and Android, but there's over 100 platforms that you have to accommodate in China. And if you're able to do that and be able to penetrate various different systems, and that's fine, but it's going to be very difficult to do it on your own. So the idea is that you have to find a very good partner in China. And the third point, you have to understand the Chinese culture in the market. For example, when Japanese corporations go to China, they look at various elements. There was one company that was involved in animation, and they were involved in films and then games in Japan, but that company never had any experience in China up until the point they decided to move forward. They had manga and anime, and they tried to do everything in China. They focused on games at first, but they were unfamiliar. And then they looked for partners to work together with in China in the area of toys or feature films. They wanted to have a tie-up with some Chinese operation. It probably would be more effective to work on various different channels, not just games. And it seems that a company that has been involved in various different fields would be successful. But you may not be successful coming to China all of a sudden, even if you just focus on games, if you have no experience in the market. Well, it's quite difficult to summarize everything. But perhaps, Professor Nakamura, you would like to try and organize and summarize this? I think that the greatest opportunity exists right now in China for Japanese corporations. Because we already have seen success cases of Japanese IP in China. There are many corporations, and there are a lot of companies that have been unsuccessful in deploying Japanese IP to China, but the people here have been successful. They have a track record of several years of success in China with Japanese IP. And it would have been inconceivable 10 years ago. Mr. Honda started everything from scratch, built up a relationship with the government, and now is in the position he enjoys. For Japanese corporations, Square Enix or DNA could offer advice, perhaps. And you could also talk with Shanda Games or Perfect World in China. At any rate, there's global potential for Japanese IP. And if you have that strength, then in China, cross-media is going to be very important. And so I think that Japanese IP can show its strength from here onwards. Well, there's already basic structure in place. So the next thing is to find a trustworthy partner to work with. That is the difficult part, but we've run out of time. So in regard to the trends in the Chinese market from here onwards, I'd like everybody to predict what's going to come next. And could you give us a message about what should be done for the future? And perhaps starting with the Mr. Honda. Prediction? Yes, prediction or trends in the market. That's difficult. Frankly speaking, I don't know. I don't know, but I've already said this, but we are quite proud of what we make. But how much global potential there is something that we like to continue to pursue. And for the Chinese market, I'm looking forward to some partner who can suggest how we can be more successful in China. Rather than find someone who tells us what is going to be successful in China, I would like to see people come to us and discussing about possibility of working together about realizing what they want to achieve for the Chinese market. Now, the market environment has both consoles and PCs, smartphones, other mobile devices. So there's a lot of opportunities for users to find contents. So you don't have to have fixed notions. There's already the environment in place to provide what is appropriate. So this is a great environment for creators. Of course, the competition is tough, and you might think that it's too cumbersome to accommodate so many different environments. But I hope that we can continue to challenge difficult situations, and we hope that to become a de facto standard in the Chinese market. It's not exactly a prediction, but rather what hopes we have for the Chinese market. Yes, we'd like to hear now from Mr. Ren of DNA. As for the market, for the Chinese market, I think the market will become easier for foreign companies to come into. But with China as a number one market in the world, Chinese companies are going to become stronger. So it's difficult to predict who's going to win. But what can be said is that it's not just in China, but also throughout the world that you can be successful. If the, there was a time when the winners in the Japanese market were the victors in the global market. That continued for 10 to 20 years. But now American players are becoming stronger on the global situation. And in the mobile PC area, China is about to become number one, and you have to be able to win in that market. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to win in the global market. If that's the case, whether you can win in the Chinese market or not, and we see a lot of global operations, we also see a lot of Chinese companies going abroad. And Chinese companies are not going to be able to win in the global market unless they're also victorious in the Chinese market. I'm sure a lot of people find the Chinese market difficult, but I hope that you'll actively come into the Chinese market. Otherwise, it's going to get tough. Therefore, DNA has made a considerable investment in China, and by far, China is the biggest operation after Japan.
So we want to be competitive worldwide. So you have a lot of pains, but now it's time to get profit. Yes, we wish, but China is still developing in the process of development, so we still have to put more focus there. But I hope we can find someone to work with. Son-san, next, please. Well, first of all, let me give you some message to the Japanese people. Japanese manufacturing and is really appreciated in the world. You may say taking too much time in making things may cause the delay to go into the China market, but you don't have to worry about that. The design of your eyes and the location of the eyebrows and the hairs, all these details are really sophisticated and thought out so thoroughly. That's the power of the Japanese creators and also Japanese IP. But in order for these strengths to be effective in China, at the early stage, you should choose the trustworthy partners in China to help bring good Japanese IPs into China. If I can I can bridge these two parties, I'll be very honored. So Son-san, who loves Japanese anime, was kind enough to say that. Now, Cho-san. Well, let me say my forecast. China market, I think, is not just mobile, but the PC console, all types of games. China will be the biggest market in the world for all these games. The population of the gamers are already in China is already bigger than the U.S. population, and economically speaking, people will get richer and more affluent. And that means that there will be more disposable income to spend on the entertainment. So the market in China will grow bigger. And also the market is becoming more open and accepting to all these things that comes from the other part of the world with different cultural background. So I think you have chances. As for the perfect world, as for the perfect world's future, we would like to continue our effective management in the China market, and at the same time, we would like to spend the money and time to form partnership with the companies outside China, so product IP can be brought into Chinese market, and hope we were going to accelerate our globalization. So globalization will be the trend. I just got back from the United States, and I went to the game show in the Seattle. I watched the Square Enix, Capcom, UPI booths. There were also Chinese companies, including Perfect World and Shanda Games. I think in the future, the U.S. game companies, well, despite of the fact that they have each individual market, but I think all these regional market are becoming more and more integrated. They have common themes to play. They have common themes to talk about. They would, I think, share the similar understanding and about the games. I think things would be more integrated all over the world. Yeah, like I said earlier, China is no more an emerging market. Please eliminate that from your brain. You think, well, you compare China from the Southeastern Asia, but I think you should eliminate it, that belief. When Japanese companies went to the United States, they thought how Toyota went to the States, how Lexus was born in the United States. Well, please watch that. Please look back how they did, because China is a market like the United States. Then, rather than breaking into the market, you have to get closer to the market and how to suit yourself to the market. I think that's what's most needed for Japanese companies. If you see, if the Japanese companies see Chinese market as in a lower position than the Japanese market, that's wrong thing to do. Well, of course, the old comers tend to see the newcomers as in the lower position. We tend to do that. Yes, how Toyota went to the United States, how Lexus was born in the United States. This case study would illustrate my point very well, I think. Mr. Nakamura, can you summarize the comments? Well, I'm a researcher. From the academic point of view, I think women would be the next key. Already the proportion of a female user in the mobile game is high enough, but when it's going to take off would be very interesting to see. It depends on the contents, I think, but I'm trying to be careful watching women. And also the cross-media approach with the game, the popular smartphone game, popular MMO, popular animation are there, but they're all independent now. What kind of contents should be introduced to please the user? I think Japan and Hollywood have launched that kind of approach for the last several years, but it's not there in China yet. I think that would be the second thing we need to pay attention to China. Yes, when I go to Ikebukuro, there are a lot of people girls from China who looks like they like anime and also game. Okay, time's almost up, and well, thank you very much for your patience and attention to this final time. Before ending today's discussion or Asia Game Business Summit, let's take the group photo. The photographers, please step forward. Okay, please make a line. And let's move into the photo sessions. Photographers, please get prepared. Please step forward and get prepared. Those customers who are about to leave, please make sure to return your simultaneous translation receivers at the entrance or pass it to the staff members nearby. Thank you very much.
ではまずは目線は中央の方からお願いいたします。
Please look at the center of the audience or the photographers first.
皆様よろしいでしょうか。ムービーの皆様もよろしいでしょうか。
Okay, are you all done? Are you done?
ではフォトセッションを終了とさせていただきます。
That's the end of the photo session.
いただきました仙東海さん、
I'd like to again thanks to Ren Yi, Shanghai Qian, Cloud Chan, Sherry Sun, and Professor Nakamura and Mr. Shinada. Thank you very much, and Mr. Honda as well. Thank you very much. Thank you. That marks the end of Asia Business Game Summit 2015. As already been advised, we are collecting the receiver of the translation at the entrance or pass them to the staff members nearby. From 4 p.m., there will be a award-giving ceremony of Japan Game Award. And I hope you will enjoy the rest of the day here at Tokyo Game Show 2015. Thank you very much.
I stay out too late. Got nothing in my brain. That's what people say. That's what people say. I go on too many dates, but I can't make them stay. At least that's what people say. That's what people say. But I keep cruising. Can't stop, won't stop moving. It's like I got this music in my mind saying it's gonna be alright. 'Cause the player's gonna play, 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 play. And the haters gonna hate, 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 baby. I'm just gonna shake, 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 shake. Shake it off, shake it off. Heartbreaker's gonna break, 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 break. And the faker's gonna fake, 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 baby. I'm just gonna shake, 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 shake.